talking about American superstars, the whole Cooper Flagg. I mean, I'll start with this. You could take it in any kind of direction. I saw the Duke collapse, watched it with my son. It was thrilling. I don't hate Duke, though. I grew up in Southern California. I don't have, there's no real, outside of SDSU, any sort of, where I lived anyway, obviously there's UCLA, but it's not like college basketball was huge. I didn't really inherit this sense that you're supposed to hate Duke because they're stuck up and they're white or whatever. I mean, now it just seems particularly silly. Why do I hate them? I think that there was this strange, almost 1990s aspect to the way people who needed to demonstrate how cool they are by hating this particular college program that I guess still sort of continues. And then you have this white American superstar who I do think, even though he played well, did come up short. It was interesting to watch some of the reactions to it too, where there did seem to be some joy in Duke's failure, but affinity for this guy to the point where people were so angry that he was called for what I thought was an obvious foul. And nobody talked about how he hooked the defensive player and committed an offensive foul on the would-be game-winning shot he short-armed. Take this in whatever direction. I'm just free associating about Cooper Flagg.
Yeah. Look, the era of Duke as the most enjoyable, hateable team ended when Mike Krzyzewski retired. Right. Like, I mean, he was so sort of deeply interwoven into
Great
that.
Take.
It's like we're hating the Patriots after Tom Brady moves on. It's like, it just doesn't, the thrill is gone. I mean, Cooper Flagg is interesting in that, like, I mean, for me, from a basketball standpoint, he's absolutely deserving of being a number one overall pick. He has a ton of really remarkable strengths that I would love to draft. He, to me, does sort of project as a Pippen and not as a Jordan, right? Like he does not scream number one option to me. I don't know that he has the creativity in the kind of offensive game that he would sort of build an offense around. And I would love, to see him end up in being like the number two on a team with a really dynamic scoring guard, right? But then there's, there's this sort of, he's a white American guy, right? In a league that's perceived to have a problem where the biggest stars are international players now. It's like Gilgeous Alexander is Canadian. I don't know if people really have an issue with rooting for a Canadian, but he's going to win the MVP, and that'll be there'll be the three Jokic MVPs. The Embiid MVP, Shai's MVP, Giannis's MVP. So it's something like, I'm not sure if it's 6 in a row or 6 out of 7 or something MVPs that are won by an international player. Luka Doncic is now the biggest star on the biggest team, in the league, the most popular team in the league. I can never kind of figure out how much people actually care about that. But but setting aside the international versus domestic thing, there is a sense that this is a game that really depends upon big personalities. And many people talk about the sort of the 2000s or the early 2000s as being a low point for the NBA because it was a sort of post-Jordan fog with no one to sort of take up that mantle. Nikola Jokic might be a top 5 player when all is said and done. But he's not playing a kind of game that many American fans identify with as what cool basketball is, right? Because again, this gets to the Tatum thing, right?
Yeah, I don't know about that. Maybe I'm too in it to know, but I just think he is a mesmerizingly fun player to watch. I just think he's in Denver and he doesn't talk.
Well, that's true. But obviously, I think that he's incredible as well. But I think that the American normie fans have been trained to scoring wings, right? Ball handling, creative scoring wings is still sort of baked into. You're Michael Jordan, but also your Dr. J or your Allen Iverson or your Kobe, right? Guys who can create and guys who can shoot, right? Are just always, for many guys, people are going to be that sort of prototypical sort of player. And that's just, there's not, the modern game doesn't really facilitate that. So yeah, you're just in this weird position. And then of course, again, like you said, like there's the sort of like the inside the NBA sort of piece of this, which is like the perception that the older guard of the game won't let go of what the current game is missing. And so it just all comes together in a way that is, you know, a little bit toxic. Now, from what I've heard, the ratings have maybe started to rebound again, which is cool, But the question is just like, the league obviously is going to hope and pray for a Lakers Celtics finals. They might get a Cleveland, Oklahoma City finals instead. And that's another issue, which is that more than any league that I could think of, the NBA is really dependent upon public teams advancing in the playoffs.
Way more than any league. I mean, like, it's crazy. There's nothing like it in the NFL where you will not see an NFL playoff game that will be twice as watched as a different option based on who makes it in there. That's true of the NBA. If it's Lakers Celtics or Warriors Celtics or whatever, that's going to be a lot of people, and it could be even, I don't know if it would be twice for the finals, but certainly in some of the Western Conference games, which are a little bit more high variance, or Eastern Conference games, they're very matchup dependent. Now, about Cooper Flagg, I think creative passer, there is a little bit of strange liminal quality to him. I don't think he's an easy projection for me to figure out. One of the reasons I thought he offensive fouled on the game-winning attempt, he doesn't quite have the quicks. He's athletic, but he's not really quick. He moves in an interesting way, kind of this prowly, sort of bouncy way. The shot looks good. I don't know what he projects as. I think the kind of big man Pippen idea, maybe with a little bit more shooting, that's an interesting comp. Some have said Tatum as a comparison. I don't see him that way, though.
I mean, I think like the best case scenario, right? Like if it works out the best possible for Cooper Flagg, I kind of like a better shooting Kevin Garnett sort of comp, in the sense that
I like that.
Even if you go back and watch Garnett's MVP season, there was always something pretty labored about his offense, right? Like I think that Flagg can shoot. And he's a better dribbler than you guess from his frame. But I never get the sense that there is an effortlessness to his offensive game that you would like to see in a franchise changing number one overall pick kind of a way. But like best case scenario, he could become that sort of Kevin Garnett guy where he's just so talented that even though offense isn't something that he is necessarily has a great deal of ease doing, he can do it.
Yeah, and he's got a similar release point on the shot. He's a little smaller than Garnett, but I like that comparison.